Hi, I'm Glenn Ford, and I'm here with Mike Hutchinson. We are games designers who work together on each other's projects, and so we're going to be having a chat today about a little project that Mike's got going on called Mystic Skies, which is a magic fantasy game based on some of the Gaslands mechanics that gamers will be familiar with. And is going to be launching in Blaster magazine in its next issue. So first of all, Mike, can you give us a general overview of what Mystic Skies is?
I can, Glenn. Mystic Skies is it's a tabletop miniatures skirmish game. And as you said, it uses the movement templates from Gaslands, although it uses them in a new way. And the central idea of the game is that you are a wizard, and you are a wizard riding about the desert on a magic carpet, or possibly some other mystical flying creature, but right now magic carpets. And you are in possession of a tower of sorcery, and your opponent also has a tower of sorcery, and so the job at hand is to scoot across the board and blow up the other guy's tower of sorcery, whilst monsters get in the way and minions get summoned, and you zip around casting all manner of badass spells and generally being a sorceress type.
Cool. So first thing that I think is kind of interesting about Mystic Skies is although there's dice rolling and some sort of randomness and range in what your spells do, there's no randomness on whether you get to do your spells. You pick your badass spell to drop on somebody and it will happen. Do you want to talk a little bit about that as a sort of a design decision to cut out the randomness as to whether or not you can do the thing and just let people pull out the wizardry?
Yeah, I guess it's worth saying that the design process for Mystic Skies was extremely compressed. I had the idea for this magic carpet zooming about skirmish game, which in my mind was like a sort of Frostgrave smashed into Gaslands and see what came out of it. And the really strong visual image was Bullfrog's Magic Carpet game from the 90s. So that experience of playing that game was kind of what was the root of wanting to do this project and this game. And in that game, you rush about collecting little glowing mana globlets, and you blow stuff up, and they spill mana out, and that allows you to cast more and cooler spells and get more powers and grow your tower and stuff. All of which sounded absolutely perfect for a skirmish game about killing monsters and blowing up other people's tower. But it turned out that it was really difficult to get right, or to make balanced as an experience. So as the game developed and as it emerged, like one of the things that was true is that as you collected mana, it just became really like the turns became really swingy on whether you'd collected enough mana to have enough magic dice to throw out these spells. And because the game is entirely about being a cool wizard, there were moments where you were not a cool wizard, you were a lame wizard. And that was just really sad for all concerned, particularly when you're zooming across the desert on a magic carpet, failing to be a cool wizard. So, yes. There was a moment probably 2/3 through the playtesting and design period where I think, Glenn, you and I just both looked at each other virtually across Tabletop Simulator and went, maybe you just do the cool spells automatically. And once you did that, then the game was instantly better. It was about what spells do you cast rather than do you cast the spell. And that is ultimately a fundamentally more interesting question, because stuff is happening and you know that something is going to happen. And the question is just, which thing did you choose to happen? So that's that was a cool thing. And I remember the same playtest wash-up session deciding maybe wizards are also immortal and you can't attack them because they're essentially your magical mouse cursor for doing cool stuff around the board. And that seemed really unintuitive, but instantly works as well, because then you're a badass wizard that can do whatever they like and also can't be stopped. And so the question is, how do you stop what I'm doing if you can't stop me? And that created a bunch of fun dynamics on the tabletop.
Yeah, I think we were talking at various points about it being a bit more like almost like a god game, and also it has. So you mentioned the Wizard's Towers. It is fundamentally, well, let's say a tower defense game in many ways. In that your wizard cannot die, but what loses you the game is that your tower gets smashed in. So obviously that creates a slightly interesting, well, a very interesting dynamic, but a slightly weird dynamic where the thing you're defending is completely stationary and the thing that you're defending it with is incredibly fast moving. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you managed to balance out and figure out those sort of clashing dynamics in the game?
Yeah, so I went on a walk quite early on in the design process where the game was sort of coalescing in my mind and off my notepad. And I went for a walk and realized that the thing that was really important to me was that your wizard was like, they were in charge and they were really powerful and they had all of these jobs that they could do and some sort of minions and monsters that could also help out, but the minions and the monsters were kind of rubbishy and unpredictable and they just wouldn't get the job done and I have to do everything around here. And so the idea of a slightly, like an all-powerful but slightly frustrated wizard who has to zip about the board going, oh, can you just fit, okay, do I have to do this and I have to do that? And then this became, that sort of funny idea became the tension between, okay, I've got to defend my tower, I've got to destroy your tower, I've got to prevent the things that are in the middle of the board that are going in one direction or the other to stop me from winning. So I've got to be in lots of different places, and that means that having a sort of Gaslands powered, extremely fast 5 or 6 moves a turn type wizard, it isn't like, I mean, obviously we both have one, so it isn't unbalanced, but it's like, it's not an unbalanced playing piece on the board because it has too many jobs to do and it can't be everywhere at once. And also because it's using Gaslands movement templates, it's not like one of those flying monsters in Warhammer where you just get your 20-inch tape measure and you just go, I'm over there, I'm over there. So you either end up sort of looping around in front of your tower, casting defensive spells and gathering monsters to your cause and such like, or you go on a sort of big looping bombing run and you go and cast some sort of mega meteor type spells at the other guy's tower before looping back to try and mop up the chaos you've left emerging at your own base.
Now, a lot of the games that you've put out before and in the future are miniatures agnostic, don't have a miniatures range, etc. I understand that Mystic Skies has got some pretty swish-looking dudes on carpets being produced by Sean Sutter. Do you want to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So it is definitely miniatures agnostic. The system is nice in general. You have a wizard, you have some minions, but they've got general names like warrior, archer, and engineer. So you can kind of use any D&D models or Warhammer models or Malifaux models or anything you've got lying around to represent those. And then you've got some monsters, and the monsters that pour out of the portals into the desert have all got lovely generic classes like gigantic beast and bowman, evil bowman, and evil champion and stuff. So you can use pretty much anything for those. However, the way that this project emerged was we were having one of our regular blast nerds sort of Skype calls, and we were trying to figure out, well, we were debating amongst ourselves which projects we would be including in Volume 2 after a reasonably successful launch of Volume 1, and everyone was very excited. And people were discussing what they were planning to do in Volume 2, and I pitched a couple of ideas because I had a few things, but I hadn't really committed to anything. And I tossed out the idea of Mystic Skies being this magic carpet Frostgrave meets Gaslands thing, and Sean got super excited, and he'd been doing some sort of Arabian Nights type themes, had been creeping into some of the stuff that he's been doing for Relic Blades, some of the illustrations and some of the models. and he and I just got chatting about the possibility of maybe doing the game together, because he is a phenomenal illustrator as well as a sculptor. And so we went away from that conversation and I was like, amazing, I have to make this game, but I only have 3 months to do it and I haven't really started it. I hope Sean
tons of time
is going to forgive me this rather scrappy period. And then he went away and just came back like that evening with these awesome gnome and goblin sort of sorcerers on magic carpets, with this really very awesome aesthetic. Yeah, so I mean, it is miniature agnostic. I've got a little dude here that's like a sort of Arabian sorcerer that I picked up off some random miniature collection, and then this is a piece of drinks can that I cut out and stuck some material on top of, and then of course, because it's drinks can, you can bend it into the right shape. So yeah, miniatures are and will be available from Sean, actually, because he was running his Kickstarter for the new starter box for Relic Blade at the same time. Some of the models for Mystic Skies are included as add-ons and reward levels for the Relic Blade Kickstarter as well. So yeah, they are being produced and should be out in the universe pretty soon. So that's cool. This is actually the first game I've done with a miniatures range. Hooray!
Yeah. I know it's sort of, you can use any miniatures you like, but here are some miniatures that specifically you could use. Is there anywhere online or such like that people might pop along to look at or for those minis?
Yep, so type Relic Blade, all one word, into Google, and Metal King Studios website will present itself, which I think is relicblade.com, but yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. So you've mentioned Blaster there, saying that Mystic Skies is going to be in the second issue of Blaster. For those who don't know, do you want to tell us a little bit about what Blaster is, how it came about, and
Yeah. So Blaster is it's a periodic war games anthology. It is available in print on demand and digital as well, and it's an experiment, actually. Joe McCulloch, Frostgrave Joe, sort of blew his horn of Gondor and summoned to him a gang of games designers that he liked and thought might work well as a sort of cadre. And so Ash Barker from Guerrilla Miniature Game, the YouTube channel, but also writer of Last Day Zombie Apocalypse for Osprey Games, was combined with myself and Joseph Maguire, who's written This Is Not a Test, the post-apocalyptic skirmish game, but also wrote Reality's Edge for Osprey. And Sean as well. And so we kind of gathered together, and Sean knew a fantastic graphic designer called Greg, and we liked him instantly and totally clicked. And so then there were 6 of us who just really wanted to make a magazine together, or a kind of anthology. And it's moved from being like, the original idea was a magazine, but this one definitely feels like something that we want to not feel like it matters when you buy it. Like the fact that the first volume came out a while back, like none of the content is time specific, and it doesn't really have a kind of magazine-y feel to it. So yeah, so it's a series of wargame anthologies, and each one theoretically will have a chunky, beautifully designed, filled with photos and illustration expansion for one of our systems. And so it's kind of like Joe originally pitched it to me as like the stuff that we're kind of gathering together and putting out anyway to support our games. Like, why don't we put that together, bind it up, make it totally lovely, and then use each other's kind of networks to give it a bit more oomph and get it out in front of more people. But I think actually like the slightly more misty-eyed version of it is that we all really want it to be something which highlights sort of the strength of independent skirmish games, and that puts a little mark in the sand that says like really interesting stuff is happening in this design space at the moment, and like here's a sort
it'll
of
make you believe.
Huh?
It'll make you believe again in the power of independent gaming.
Exactly. And so yeah, it's kind of like we like to think of it as like a early Dragon magazine, an early White Dwarf. Like it's just like a melting pot of crazy stuff that's super high quality.
Yeah. Because in our contribution to that first one is the Martian Racing Federation for Gaslands, which is
Yeah,
something
which
that's
was
kicking around
always
for
supposed to be a
literally
sort of
years.
expansion or game mode for Gaslands, and we couldn't get it to work to my satisfaction for the Gaslands refueled thing. And what's kind of fun is that it ended up in Blaster Volume 1 basically as a completely standalone game. So by the time I'd finished writing it, like, it has a beginning, middle, and end. It has all of the rules that you need to play it. And so actually, when you pick up Blaster, you realize that the expansion to Gaslands, you don't even need to have the Gaslands rules in order to play. And so the same is going to be true for Mystic Sky. So Blaster Volume 2 is also going to have a complete standalone game in it. So you don't need anything to play Mystic Skies. You don't need to know anything about Gaslands. You don't need to know anything about Relic Blade, which the universe it exists within. Yeah.
Okay, so I know that you can get Blaster on Drive-Through RPG. Is there anywhere else that it can get picked up? And I know it doesn't particularly matter if you follow along issue to issue, but roughly what's the release schedule for people who want to sort of get it into their calendar?
Yeah, so I mean, Drive-Through RPGs is how we're producing it and distributing it. So you can hit up blaster-mag.com, which is where our little homepage lives, and you can get email notifications there about when the next volumes, when they arrive. The Volume 2 with Mystic Skies in is coming hopefully before the end of September this month.
Cool.
Volume 3, we'll see, might be along just before the end of the year. We originally had set ourselves a reasonably aggressive release schedule, but honestly, we're more excited to put out the best quality content that we can rather than hitting a particularly rigorous schedule.
Issue 3 might have something where you do need Gaslands core set to play. Is that
so? Yeah, Volume 3. Well, we can maybe talk about it in another video, but Volume 3 will have some Gaslands expansion in it. Yeah.
Cool.
Finally, some people will be saying.
I think people would be plenty satisfied with what they've gotten out of it so far.
Well, it's like I put a blog post up on the Gaslands website about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, sort of explaining how I was a little bit burnt out on designing for Gaslands. Like, I'd done a ton of work on it for Refueled, and so like Billion Suns and Perilous Tales and Mystic Skies were all like palette cleansing. Like, I'm not really a do one thing for ages kind of a guy. I'm more like procrastinate on project A by doing project B, and then procrastinate on project B by doing project C, and then get back to the beginning kind of a guy. But yeah, only like a week after writing that blog post saying, "Oh, I'm kind of burnt out on Gaslands. We'll see if anything happens, but I'm not promising." I was like, "Bah, I've got an idea. I need to do it now." So
yeah, and we'll possibly save that for the next video. But it's been fun to see you get excited about Gaslands again. To be honest, it's it's been nice.
It's good. I like it.
Well, I like seeing you sort of getting fired up about things again. But we'll chat about that next time. So obviously you can there'll be links through to Blaster and Mystic Skies and everything from your website as well, because I know that is the Mystic Skies original beta sort of version still somewhere online, or is that gone?
No, actually, this is the first game that I will have put out that has no public beta. So that's kind of scary. Ooh. Because Billion Suns, Gaslands, and Perilous Tales have all had like multiple hundreds of people touching them before it gets released. And it's worth saying, like, Sean and I are both quite excited about it, and we haven't committed to do anything further with it, but we might do something further with it, and we might blow it up into a proper full-size thing and maybe release it through Metal King Studios and do something a little bit larger with it. But so perhaps Blaster Volume 2 is the kind of open beta, but it's good and it's done. Like, it's fine. It's not a test yet, but it's kind of scary setting it out there without all of that additional validation already behind me.
It's been interesting anyway, playtesting it primarily digitally, which is a very new experience.
Yeah, I haven't played Mystic Skies physically with anybody else. I've played it a lot on my playtesting table here, and we've played it a few times on TTS, and I've played it a bunch with Sean on TTS. But
yeah,
it's weird.
yeah,
2020 is
but
weird.
I think it's been a funny Jesus, what, 9 months, something like that now. But yeah, fantastic. So yeah, if everybody looks out for Mystic Skies, check out Blaster, and hopefully we'll chat again very shortly about possibly Gaslands and possibly other things. Great. Well, thanks a lot, Mike. Bye. Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.